I want to start today by talking generally about political violence in the United States. What I mean by this is acts of real world violence that are politically motivated or politically oriented. And of course, the context is this horrifying attack by a right wing, anti vaccine, anti Semitic QAnon nut on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, which we will get to. But one of the things that the right has been doing in response to this horrible attack, to this obviously politically motivated attack, is a lot of both sidesing. Well, we generically condemn violence, and violence is bad no matter who does it. Violence in general is unacceptable. But let's not pretend that it is the same on both sides. First of all, they aren't actually telling the truth that they see left and right wing violence in the same way. Their reaction to the January 6th Trump riots, is great evidence of that. But more importantly, they are looking to say, well, just violence is bad, but overwhelmingly the violence comes from their side. There's a very good study from the New America think tank, which found that most political violence is right wing. And in fact, they have number of people killed in deadly attacks in the post 9/11 era. This is for deaths, and then we have other incidents of violence where nobody dies. Number of people killed by ideology, and you will see that there's 122 which are far right wing and 107 that are jihadist. 17 are ideological misogynists slash incels, which is another right wing reactionary ideology. Then you've got your black separatist, nationalist supremacists, and one that is far left wing. Other than the one far left wing, these are all essentially right wing ideologies. Now, you might say, but David, the jihadists. Folks, jihadists are right wing. Tell me what left wing views jihadist Muslims have. They have the exact same views as the far right Christians, except under the guise of Islam rather than Christianity. So overwhelmingly, right wing violence is the cause of a death in the United States in politically violent acts. There's another study called A Comparison of Political Violence by Left Wing, Right Wing, and Islamist extremists in the United States and the world. And what this study finds, and we'll link to it and you can read through it, is that most political violence, both domestically in the United States and globally, is carried out by right-wing ideology, by right-wingers. Now, there is another layer. It isn't just the right wing that is perpetrating most of the political violence. It's also that the left wing is mostly the victim of that violence as well. You can have right-wingers generically committing acts of violence, and the victims are a random assortment of those based on political ideology. But no, it is left-wingers that are overwhelmingly the victims of this right-wing violence as well. And if you think we can count on the right to help reduce such violence, forget it. Think back to the start of the pandemic. They couldn't even pitch in and just wear masks or get themselves vaccinated for the greater good. There's no way that they would pitch in to work together to make sure society doesn't collapse if, under the weight of this violence, given that they are overwhelmingly the ones perpetrating that violence. They hate higher education. They say that's liberal indoctrination. They say that medicine is increasingly biased left-wingers giving their social opinions when it comes to vaccines and all these other guidelines related to the pandemic. On all of these different things, they are willing to let the world, the country burn for their ideology. It doesn't matter. Science doesn't matter. Empiricism doesn't matter. Reality doesn't matter to them. The other aspect to this that is important to consider is that when you look at stochastic terrorism, meaning the vague calls to violence issued to their respective audiences, you just don't see that on the left. Now, I know you can find isolated examples of some Black Lives Matter or Antifa activist with no following other than 1,500 people on Twitter saying down with their heads or something like that. But What I'm talking about is Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, Trump himself at rallies, the leaders of their movement, prominent people saying, we got to knock them around, knock the hell out of them. I'll pay for the legal fees, all of these different things. They are causing this to a great degree. And so the both sidesism has to stop. And by the way, the more we learn about the Paul Pelosi attack, the more we know that it was simply a right-wing nut targeting Nancy Pelosi because he doesn't like her political views. Let's talk about that next.